we had significant turbulence coming into our flight. And I had, what was interesting, it's only happened to me twice, and a totally, from my primitive brain, a totally visceral response when we had flown out of our seats 3 or 4 times. I mean, this was severe turbulence. And my heart starts pounding, my body starts shaking. But what my mind does is my mind starts saying Unity's prayer for protection and surrounding the plane in light. And I just said it over and over and over until the calm, until the plane smoothed out. And the next thing I know, the wheels are touching the ground. So it works. It works. It is such a joy to be here. The last time I was in Montreal, and I have been in Montreal once before, was 57 years ago in July. Now, what was happening 57 years ago in July? 1967, so the Expo. And I was here with my father, who was speaking here at Unity of Montreal. And my mother and my sister, we had come together for this family vacation at Expo 67. And I have such delightful memories of getting on the subway, going to the island. And my dad, somebody in the church had given my dad a VIP pass to the American Pavilion. So we went in the VIP entrance of the American Pavilion with Liberace. And I got to meet Liberace. And it was just an amazing experience to see all of the great, magnificent displays of pavilions that were there at that time. I do remember them very well. But it's great to be back here in Montreal and to get to know the city as the city. And one of the ways I've been getting to know it is I've been sitting in the office with each sunset and looking west to the church, Notre Dame. I'm terrible at French, so please bear with me. Notre Dame de Grâce. And I was sitting there watching the sunset the first night, the one that was so bumpy coming in, because there were so many clouds and stormy clouds. Anyway, the colors were amazing Thursday night. Friday night, just a very peaceful sunset. Saturday night, as I sat, I noticed the sun was descending and shining through the archways of the church steeple. I felt like an ancient druid at Stonehenge, watching the sun come down between the pillars there. And it was just, last night I felt such a peaceful calm.
Ce défi d'entraînement peut être réalisé n'importe.
That's all right. That's all right. The more I actually hear French, I think the more I might catch on a little bit. And so as the day was coming to a close, the daylight was fading. There, I mean, who's afraid at sunset as the daylight fades? Anybody? Okay, I understand that. Because sunset is it's the end of something. It's the end of something, and it leaves you in the place of the unknown. Because when you cannot see what is there, it's a little more tentative. And this is how death works. And Easter is actually a movement from death to transition the new life. It's a whole movement from Friday through Sunday, the celebration of new life. Now, I've spent many years doing Easter flower services and celebrating the new life, and hallelujah, Christ the Lord is risen today. And beautiful, powerful, to acknowledge that. And with each experience I've had of a loss or a death, it's gone a little deeper in my soul, a little deeper in my soul, a little deeper in my soul, until I realized that it's the whole experience of life that Easter is about. It's the whole experience, not just one side, not just the daylight. It's, at the end of the first day in Genesis says what? There was day and there was night the first day. It did not say there was only day the first day. There was day and there was night the first day. It's a whole movement from light to shadow to light. And the Easter story so powerfully presents that. But because it includes the wholeness of our humanity. What Jesus went through in the Easter story was a confrontation between his physical being and his spiritual being until the two were totally at peace, at one. In fact, if you look at the cross, you have one vertical line. Oh, Maya is wearing one. If you look at the cross, you have one vertical line, one horizontal line. The horizontal line represents your earthly, physical life. The vertical line represents your connection with the universe, with all that is, with all that is spiritual. And the two meet in the center of the cross, where the heart of the Christ was. And when those two things come together, there's a choice to be made. And what brings them together? With Jesus, it was a crucifixion. With us, it's whatever a crucible is in our lives, whatever crisis shows up in our lives. It's time for the material world, the material physical thinking to meet the spiritual thinking and to make peace with one another. This is the process. This is the process. And all of our humanity can come to bear, all of our emotions, like the primitive brain that came out when the plane was being tossed around. All of it can come to the fore. And it's okay, as Maya said, we are each on that path of the mystic. And when those things come to rise, they rise up for one purpose only: the fear, the doubts, the upset. One purpose only. And that is what?
I just had a message in the chat that the sound is not very good. I think you should maybe put further away with the mic. Yeah, it just vibrates, it's resonating. Maybe that you don't even need the mic.
If I speak like this, can everyone hear me online?
Yeah.
I speak without it, because I'm not at a computer mic. It would give feedback if I turn my mic on.
You can also, I think, if you hold the mic further away and not here.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Yes, very good. Whoever is alert, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for being our a sound tech.
Maybe that's someone, yeah, if they can hear.
Now, yes, can you hear? Everyone?
Not, it's not very good. It sounds like you're far away.
Maya, maybe perhaps you and I will trade places
Okay.
for now. Okay? I'm going to sit in front of Maya's computer microphone. And that will help. Okay, is that better? Let me grab mine. I have a couple of things Maya, would you hand me the bowl that's behind the monitor there? Would you get there?
Oh, is there breakfast ready for me?
You can just set them right down here. Okay, very good, very good. All right, so thank you. Whoever, is that better? Are we good? Okay, it makes much of, and we will not have this in the future because there'll not be two computers up here. So, okay, very good. Very, very good. All right. So, death. The crucifixion and death is actually a teaching for us that when we go through those crucibles, when we go through those crises, there is only one reason all the humanity that we have, all the limited thinking that we have arises, and that is to come into the light. To come into the light and to be transformed and renewed. The crucifixion, the tomb, the resurrection, those are the three parts of our spiritual journey. And the first part being the crucifixion, the crucible that squeezes out the stuff that we have inside to bring into the light. You know, Maya could tell I was a little discombobulated when I got here, especially after the first 24 hours when several things had happened. Where are my keys? Where's my watch? You know, things like this. And she just sat me down and we did a centering and a grounding. She said, I can tell your energy is all over the place. And she worked with me. And that's why I'm so centered today. That's why I'm so grounded today. Because those things arise so that we see them and pay attention to them, so that we're not carrying them around, so that they don't surprise us, so that we don't know why something's happening, you know, in us, you know, why it's happening. No, they come up to be loved, blessed, and released, and released. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. It is finished. It is finished. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. Then comes the second phase, which we have heard from some of you. In your childhood, you remember the Saturday being a time of the void, the emptiness, in preparation for the new life to come. Well, let me tell you about the void. There's nothing neutral about the void. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. Wow. Because within the void, within the space of emptiness, within the I don't know what to do, within I am totally lost, well, you know what? That is a sacred place. That is the time to be still, to go within, and to listen. And to know that the answer will come. If it doesn't come right away, it doesn't mean it's not working. It means it is waiting for the right time to show up. So know that there is work being done in the void, just as with the journey of Jesus. There was work being done. Jesus is one of many stories of ancient times that are a death and resurrection experience, a trip to the underworld where souls are transformed and changed, and then they come back to life. And so that experience, I call it, in the Easter story, I call it the tomb of transformation. Because in that void is the potential for everything. The potential for everything. It is the chrysalis of the butterfly. It is the bulb that you plant in the fall, in the middle of the winter, still filled with life and getting ready to come out in the spring. And this is why I brought this. It is the egg. The egg. Now, I also brought this because before my father was a minister, and I'm a third generation Unity minister. My father was a Unity minister. My mother's mother was a Unity minister. She was the founding minister of Unity in Fairfax, Virginia. And my father was in Philadelphia, I think. He was at the church in Philadelphia at the time he came up to Montreal in 1967. And this egg, okay, it reminds me of my father because before he was a minister, he was a poultry farmer. And I do like to say, Lord, I was born a poultry farmer's daughter, because I was born a poultry farmer's daughter in Kansas. And then my family moved east to the East Coast where I grew up. But before then, my dad was an expert on chickens and eggs. He judged at chicken shows and rooster shows and around the southern part of the country. And he knew eggs like nobody knew eggs. And that's because of the education he got when he was younger at Kansas State University, which is like a primo agricultural university. So he said the first day of class, in learning about poultry farming, the professor walked into the class and he pulled out an egg and he said, this egg is 5 years old and it's never been refrigerated. And then he broke it open. And because it was 5 years old, it was dried out. So it was just in little crumbles. And then he passed around the crumbles to his class, each one to take a piece. And he said, and they were tasteless, but they were also harmless. And here's why. The egg is the perfect package. No bacteria. Now, let me tell you this, those of you who've had to deal with rotten eggs, and I've had to deal with them myself, no bacteria gets into the egg while it is developing unless the shell is compromised. It's only when the shell is compromised that the bacteria gets in. But what does escape is the moisture. Moisture can get out, but bacteria cannot come in. This is one of the first things my dad learned about eggs. So in our transition time, we have the perfect protection. If you have to go home and curl up and suck your thumb or whatever it is you have to do because of a momentary, what am I going to do now? Or how can I stand this loss? If you have to do that, remember, there is a shell of light around you in the process, protecting you, guiding you through this transition until you are ready for the new life, the new experience. On Easter Sunday, the stone was rolled away. And when the women came looking, the angels were sitting on top of the stone, and what is it they said? Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. And it was Mary Magdalene in the Gospel of John who encountered Jesus in the garden, who did not recognize him until her name was spoken. Mary. And then she says, Rabboni, which means great teacher. And she bows and she reaches for his robe and he says, touch me not, I have not yet ascended to my Father. And he was referring to a lifting up of such high vibration that it was wide open for all possibility. But the new life comes when it is grounded through the word that was passed through the women, through the experience of the disciples, and through the experience of all the people who followed their teachings. That is when the new life comes. When we have the courage to step forth into whatever it is and share it with others. You don't have to go around proselytizing, but just share your light. Just share your very being. Just share your love. And when you do, coming out of something that has so deeply affected you, it will be that much more powerful. It will be that much more powerful. So I created this message last night as I was sitting in my room in quiet contemplation, and I wrote the message, and then, and what I do is I write a message and then I set the notes aside. That's just an exercise to pull my thoughts together. And then I picked this up this morning, which is the Unity booklet for Lent that we've had this year of letting go. It's all been about letting go. And by golly, it was today's message. Go figure. I didn't know. I hadn't read it ahead of time, but the same message was coming through of death and the tomb and resurrection. Crucifixion, the tomb, and resurrection. And here it says, laying down one's life is the ultimate letting go. Most of us are not called to die early as part of our life's mission, as Jesus was, but at times we may experience the end of life as we know it. The end of life as we know it. Just like the bulb that becomes the tulip. It's no longer a bulb, but it is something more glorious. The Easter story resonates year after year because in the crucifixion, tomb, and resurrection, we recognize our own experiences of loss, the void, and renewal. Or the three stages, another name for the three stages is release, transformation, and new life. Because when you get to declaring who you are, the Christ is resurrected in and through and as me. I am now in a new phase of life, knowing all that has gone before and has transformed itself into who I am here and now. I have in the past years lost my father, my mother, and my sister in their physical form. But what I know in the consciousness of new life is that they're here today. They're here today because I'm here today. They're here in me. You see, life never ends. It never ends. That was the demonstration of the resurrection. So that if we are willing to come out of our shell, if we are willing to break the shell, we will discover that our limited self, and I'm bending over here for just a moment, that our limited self is no longer there. There will be nothing and no one to harm because we are that full and wonderful spiritual being. And whatever is happening in our physical, emotional, mental world We are that. In truth, of you, there is nothing and no one to harm. There is only the fullness of life, ready to give itself into the rest, your divine humanity, lovingly, compassionately, to let go what needs to be released, to transform what needs to be transformed, and to be at peace with everything that comes along in life. Happy Easter. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
So some of you may know how it is I have an empty shell. And those of you who don't, just ask me after the service.
So we have our meditation. I am choosing this meditation to be something that I invite you to sit back. I'm going to stop the recording because the sound might not, or the recording that I have stopped